Hi, I'm Lindsey Smith, welcoming you to Raise the Line with Osmosis from Elsevier, an ongoing exploration about how to improve health and healthcare. In 2010, my guest today, Rob Long, was on the cusp of an NFL career after being a star punter at Syracuse University. However, life had other plans. 5 days after his final college game, Rob was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive brain tumor with an average life expectancy of just 3 years. Fortunately, emergency surgery and treatment gave him a second chance at life. While his NFL dreams were dashed, a new purpose emerged. Today, he's the executive director of Uplifting Athletes, a nonprofit using sports to raise awareness and resources for rare diseases. Under his leadership, they've raised over $9 million to fund research, create uplifting experiences, and expand rare disease awareness. We're very happy to have him on the Raise the Line podcast today as we continue our Year of the Zebra conversations on rare diseases. As you might recall, Osmosis from Elsevier's Year of the Zebra initiative started about 2 years ago with a focus on raising awareness and creating accessible content surrounding rare diseases, and we are so excited to continue learning more from other professionals in the field throughout this series. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to start by just getting to know you a little bit as a person and hear a little bit more about your background, maybe touching on kind of your athletic career.
So I was fortunate when I was a senior in high school to receive a full scholarship offer to play football at Syracuse. It was a dream come true for me. It was not something that I think I initially expected when I started playing football. It was more for fun, realized I was pretty good at it and had an opportunity to go play Division I football. And my time at Syracuse was nothing short of amazing. It provided me so many amazing opportunities to meet amazing individuals, my teammates, people that I just never would have had the opportunity to connect and become friends with, and just get to see so much of the country. My first plane flight was actually an away game to the University of Iowa. And so just my whole time at Syracuse, from the educational aspect to the athletic aspect of it, was something I've cherished forever.
And you were a kicker, right? So those high pressure game on the line situations, that was right, kind of landing on you.
Yeah, so I kicked, punted, and held over the course of 4 years at Syracuse. An awesome opportunity for me just to be able to have that experience of playing Division I football. I got to play in Happy Valley at Penn State, Notre Dame Stadium, and University of Washington. So all these amazing places that you just kind of dream of being able to be a part of and to play in. I had the opportunity to do so. So for me, the athletic career and the doors that it opened, is something that I've been very fortunate to be a part of.
Absolutely. So you're ending your senior year of college football, and you have this dream of playing in the NFL. Was that always kind of part of your plan or goal?
No. So when I was in high school, I didn't really, I just had the love of the game. I guess I really enjoyed playing sports. I played in a bunch of different sports growing up. I actually quit everything to focus on hockey in freshman year of high school. And, fast forward 2 years, I'm playing football on the high school football team and just had a great time. I loved it. And I really had no expectations of where it would take me. Fortunate to receive that scholarship offer. And then when I got to Syracuse, again, it was just like, this is really cool. I'm really enjoying this. I was going to work really hard at it. And probably after about sophomore year, I was a freshman All-American my first year. And then after sophomore year, I think people came to me and were like, hey, like, you could play in the NFL. And I was like, seriously? And so it became something that was like, oh, all right, well, like, this is what I'm going to work towards. So just kind of as my life progressed, I just set new goals for myself. And coming into my senior year, it was like, all right, I just need to keep doing what I've done the last 3 years, and I will set myself up for success in the NFL. And by the time my senior year was coming to a close, my biggest concerns at that time were what NFL city was going to draft me, where I would go, where I would play. And, so much of that changed very quickly. 5 days after my last regular season game, I went to see the team doctor and just read to him, my list of symptoms. And, we were trying to figure out what might be the cause. And so he sent me for an MRI to try and eliminate possible issues. And the first thing we did was sent me for an MRI of my brain, and went and got that MRI, came back to the team facilities later that day after going through the procedure. And I walked into the room to sit down with the team doctor, and the entire training staff was in there, half my coaches. And I realized at that time probably nothing good was coming. But I had just no idea of what to expect at that point. And they told me to sit down, and they told me that I had a large growth in my brain and I need to see a specialist in the morning. And, it was probably almost 8 o'clock at night. I had to call my parents, and I knew that's a tough phone call to make. My family is one that has struggled with cancer pretty tremendously over the years, and so I knew I couldn't call my mom first, so I called my dad and broke the news to him. And I'd never forget. I told him, I said they just found a large growth in my brain, and he had just left my mom at my aunt's house. He was on his way into work. And just a few hours earlier that day, my mom found out that her youngest sister, my aunt Chrissy, had been diagnosed with breast cancer. So in the span of about 4 hours, mom learned about, her baby sister and her son having, some kind of cancer diagnosis. So it was a tough day in our family, but, for me, it kind of just changed everything for me from that moment on. I can look back at that moment now, and I never played football again. I worked out for probably over a dozen NFL teams, and was fortunate to be able to do so. But I look back at that moment as a incredibly pivotal moment in my life, and it was probably the toughest and probably most difficult days, probably those couple weeks. And I look back at it now, and it's been an absolute blessing for me, and what it's brought me, what it's brought my family. It set me on a different path that has given me a tremendous amount of meaning and a great outlet to kind of share my story and my journey to hopefully help others.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that incredible
Yeah.
story, and that day that you received that news must have been incredibly challenging for you and your family. Can you tell us a little bit more about anaplastic astrocytoma and what it is exactly?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed. So when they found this tumor, they said you have a large growth in your brain. And I had never seen a brain MRI before. Probably easy to believe, wasn't a pre-med, and just had no idea what an MRI looked like. Went into the doctor's office the following day. So I had the MRI on December 2nd, and on December 3rd, I went into the doctor's office. And at this moment, I already have been told that I have a large growth in my brain. I don't know what that means. It doesn't feel real. I was still walking and talking, kind of felt normal for the most part. And I remember going into the doctor's office that day and was in the exam room. And when I entered the exam room, on the computer screen was my MRI. And I just looked at that and I was like, what am I looking at? And it was a top down version of my head broken into four quadrants. And the back right quadrant of my brain was just entirely consumed by a tumor. And I said, what am I looking at? And they're like, well, that large mass is not supposed to be there. And that was the first time that I was like, what is going on? It was way bigger than I expected it to be. And it was the first time that I really felt like I was like, I'm in trouble. And fast forward, I get flown home to Philadelphia. I have surgery at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia. And 6 days after, so I spent my 22nd birthday in the hospital getting prepped for brain surgery on December 13th, 2010. Had surgery on December 14th. And on December 20th, went into the hospital. And I remember coming out of brain surgery, and it was the first time I hadn't had a headache in 3.5 months. And I was like, wow, I feel great. And this is awesome. And I remember the doctors came in and, they said, we have the pathology report back and you have a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And they said it is an aggressive form of brain cancer. There's no cure for your diagnosis. And he just kind of stopped. And up until that point, my understanding of going to the doctor's office was you go in, you get told what you have, and they say, all right, here's what we're going to do, and you're going to be better in a couple weeks. And it was a really difficult conversation to be on the receiving end of that. Hey, we know what you have, and there's no cure. But I was like, I'm 22, I'm incredibly healthy. Like, what do you mean? And they're just, I realized, and that's when I was kind of welcomed into what it's like to have a rare disease and go into a doctor. I was fortunate to receive a diagnosis, but to not have an FDA approved treatment is a scary, scary feeling. And I remember at that point, they were like, there's potentially something that we can try. And fortunately for me, a few years earlier, the first of its kind chemotherapy called temozolomide had been approved. It was the first ever chemotherapy to penetrate the blood-brain barrier. It was approved for a completely different type of brain cancer, but it was used off-label for me in 2010. And this is about 5 or 6 years before any clinical trials started, but it was used off-label. There was really no other choice. And what followed was chemotherapy and radiation every day for 6.5 weeks. And then I took a month off, tried to let the brain heal, and then began another year of chemotherapy, 28-day cycles of 5 days on, 23 days off. And I did that for over a year. And it was incredibly tough just going through the chemo. It only was actually taking the chemo for 5 days. But I remember every time I went through a cycle on day 5, day 6, day 7, I'd get really sick. I'd throw up. I'd lose 15 pounds. And then I'd spend the next 3 weeks working out, trying to get healthy, trying to gain weight, to do it all over again. And that was my life for over a year. And it was emotionally, mentally, physically draining.
Absolutely. So you go through that treatment course, and then what?
I came out on the other side in February 2012. Had no idea really what just happened or what to expect. You mentioned at the top of the show the survival rate, the 5-year survival rate for my type of brain cancer at the time was 15% in 2010. And I spent so much time just waiting for it to come back. And the mental challenge, the anguish, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it was really tough. It was a tough time when physically, I'd go in and, the tumor wasn't there. There was no signs of cancer. Like, that was great. Mm-hmm. But it didn't feel great. It didn't feel like I really had done anything or made it anywhere, because I knew what felt like the inevitability of this diagnosis. And it took me a long time. And I realized after working with a psychologist that I had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which really helped explain a lot of the feelings that I had and the emotions that I felt around my diagnosis. So that diagnosis was almost a relief that it just, it wasn't me, that I wasn't just going crazy, that there was something that, was happening to me. And it was just a very traumatic event at a very pivotal point in my life. I was basically a kid. I was 22 years old, trying to figure life out, and was told essentially that I was going to die, and then just didn't. And that was sounds good, was tough to deal with. And after that, one of the probably most amazing things that happened to me in that time was my teammates at Syracuse reached out to me, and they started the Syracuse chapter of Uplifting Athletes in my honor. And I remember the phone call that came in 2012 from my teammate, Sam Rogers. And he said, there's this organization, it's called Uplifting Athletes, and they have schools that they work with all over the country. And we want to start the Syracuse chapter in your honor. Like, what do you think of that? And I said, this is awesome. Like, I would love to be a part of it. I'm so honored that you thought of me and that we can make this happen. And from then on, I learned more about what Uplifting Athletes was all about. And it's an organization whose mission is to harness the power of sport to build a community that invests in the lives of people impacted by rare diseases. They have unbelievable reputation that they've built over the last, almost 20 years since it's been doing its programming. It became a 501c3 in 2007. And I was just a fortunate person to be a part of the organization. And I worked really hard volunteering and advocating, talking to the team, talking to the community at Syracuse about the Syracuse chapter and what the organization was doing, and providing research funding for the next generation of rare disease researchers, and was just really excited about that. And it was something that I found my passion. And so from 2012 to 2016, over the course of those 4 years, I finished my master's degree, finished my undergrad first, and then got my master's degree after my diagnosis, and just was really drawn to the work that Uplifting Athletes did. I reached out to the founder, Scott Shirley, in 2016, and I said, "Is there any chance that I could do this, full time?" And fortunately for me, Scott gave me an opportunity, and I was fortunate to join the organization. And at that point, it was really my job at that point was just, how can we take the mission of Uplifting Athletes and best serve the rare disease community? And I got to dive into that for a little while, probably over the course of 2 years. And in 2018, my colleague and I, Brett Brackett, were promoted to the executive leadership of the organization. I took on the executive director role, and it was just kind of a dream come true for me that I had an outlet for me to take all of the bad that has happened, all the challenges that I've faced, and to turn them into something good. And when I reflect upon that, a lot of the difficult days, a lot of the challenges that I've faced in my life have turned out to become the biggest blessings in my life as well. And I don't think that has not been lost on me. I know there'll be tough days ahead. I know it only builds, my character and my ability to handle everything else that comes forward. And so been incredibly fortunate to be on this journey and now be a part of Uplifting Athletes for the last 7 years.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing too how your personal journey has really influenced your professional path to where you are today. And Uplifting Athletes sounds like such an incredible and impactful organization. I want to learn a little bit more about Uplifting Athletes and the work to support research and investing in future research in the rare disease space. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I joined Uplifting Athletes, we were at kind of a transition point of an organization. We were really looking for a new, innovative way to fund and celebrate researchers. We identified that there was a huge unmet need in the rare disease community for supporting the next generation of rare disease researchers. And because we are Uplifting Athletes, we wanted to take on this challenge in our way, our own unique way, or within our own unique brand. We launched a program called the Young Investigator Draft. It is modeled after the NFL draft, but instead of drafting the top athletes in the country, we draft and fund the next generation of rare disease researchers. We hold this program each year at an NFL stadium, at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. And we launched our first Young Investigator Draft in August of 2018. Since that date, we have had 7 Young Investigator Drafts. We have drafted over 50 researchers and have funded over $1 million in research grants for the next generation of rare disease researchers.
That's incredible. And I love how you're really connecting back to the sports team and making it fun, making that NFL draft. That's incredible. I want to ask you what your favorite kind of stories that you could share on some of the impact that you've had kind of with other individuals in the uplifting experience. Maybe we could talk about some of how many chapters you guys have and kind of what you guys are doing today.
Yeah, so after we launched the Young Investigator Draft in 2018, that was really a core program for us. It was our cornerstone flagship event that we celebrated each year. In 2022, the Young Investigator Draft had about, at that point, we've had 5 Young Investigator Drafts. The program had been really well established, and we were trying to really assess our landscape and assess the needs of the rare disease community. We had built this incredible network of athletes and athletic organizations through our personal and professional networks. And we were there and saying, hey, we're doing all this great work and funding the next generation of rare disease researchers. What else can we do with the community that we've built? And we were fortunate to receive a grant to launch our Uplifting Experiences program. I should say relaunch our Uplifting Experiences program in 2022. We piloted this program in the fall of 2022, and 2023 was our first full year of the program. Uplifting Experiences provide opportunities for individuals and families impacted by rare diseases to connect with our network of athletes and athletic organizations across the country. We have game day experiences, we have practice events, facilities and stadium tours, and then another thing that we call special events, which really is a neat opportunity for the athletes to kind of be out of their element, whether it's they go bowling with families or take a trip to the aquarium. Really unique engagements for the rare disease community. In 2023, we had set a goal for ourselves to do about 20 of these experiences. We ended up completing 31 experiences and had over 390 people come through the program. And as we're sitting here in July of 2024, we had set a goal to try and do about 35 experiences. We've already completed 45 experiences this year and have had nearly 500 people come through the program already. And the stories and the impact of Uplifting Experiences has been remarkable. We've grown from our 31 college chapters that have 6 different sports engaged. We were born out of college football, but now work with men's and women's soccer, ice hockey, volleyball, field hockey, and continue to build our community within the college ranks. But also I've had an amazing opportunity to partner with over 30 NFL teams, teams in the NHL, MLS, and MLB over the last couple of years, and expand the Uplifting Experiences program. So just provide these families unique opportunities to engage and to have accessible opportunities to go to a game where they're not worried about where they need to park or where they need to sit, or whether they're going to find food that is in compliance with their food allergies or anything like that. We take care of all of that. We work with the teams to ensure a great experience, and it's been a remarkable opportunity for these families just to feel included and to feel welcomed. And the whole point of this is to provide them an experience that provides them joy, that they see that there's an entire community of people that care about them, that are working behind the scenes to support them. And I think what's really unique about Uplifting Athletes, as the experiences program has grown, we've got this nice complement of we are funding the next generation of researchers and providing those research grants. And in the meantime, while those researchers work, we're providing these experiences for families so that they can have a day where they can enjoy just being a family and not worry about the next trip to the doctor or the next appointment or the next scan.
The reach that you've been able to provide through the Uplifting Experiences program to connect with athletes is nothing short of extraordinary. I think what stuck out to me when you were talking is, you're building that sense of community. You're providing those experiences to these individuals, so deserving to get these experiences. And then in the background, so critical, that research aspect as well. So well done to the Uplifting Experiences program. And I hope to see it continue to grow to even bigger heights in the future. I want to ask you a little bit about, building awareness of rare diseases. And I know with our campaign that we've done and program with the Year of the Zebra the past 2 years, our audience is really those future and current medical professionals. And so in med school, there's a lot to cover in med school. We all know that. And sometimes rare diseases, might not get covered quite as much as kind of your more common diagnoses. And so I think, what we've tried to do at Osmosis is really kind of shine that light on some of these zebra conditions. So we have a newsletter and that goes out regularly. We're bringing on people on the podcast regularly. We're trying to, raise awareness through kind of content and providing that content to these future healthcare providers in hopes that if they do come across a patient at some point, we can get to that diagnosis a little bit quicker than kind of the average of 4 to 7 years. So what ways have you been effective in kind of building awareness in the rare disease space?
So I think one of the things that's really unique about Uplifting Athletes is that when we have our events like the Young Investigator Draft, it's not just the families or the healthcare professionals that attend. We have the general public. We have so many people that follow us at Uplifting Athletes because of the athletes that we work with or their niece or nephew plays on the team that is running a campaign to support uplifting athletes. And I think that's a really powerful opportunity for us as an organization to not just reach and communicate within the rare disease community, but to be able to kind of get outside of the echo chamber that exists within the rare disease community and say, hey, this is not just a issue that affects people impacted by rare diseases. This is really a public health issue. And in order for us to accomplish all of the things that we need to accomplish as a rare disease community, we need to bring in and welcome and harness the power of everybody and unify everybody. And that can't really happen unless they know about the challenges that we are facing. And so it is the opportunity to reach and engage a broader audience to ultimately drive action in support of the rare disease cause. And I think a great example of this, the power of sports and the platform of sports and the reach is, I think, hard to argue. But I think some great examples of this is that we have an ambassador that we partner with in Major League Baseball. His name's Michael A. Taylor. He's currently a center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but he was with the Minnesota Twins last year and ran a home runs campaign. And every home run that Michael hit last year, across the Minnesota Twins social media accounts, they talked about uplifting athletes in the rare disease community. And I think it's really unbelievable to see a Major League Baseball team use their audience, their platform, to reach all of these incredible people that are following them because they're the Minnesota Twins. And they are, because of that, learning about uplifting athletes in the rare disease community. And I think these are the kind of touch points and the kind of opportunities that we're trying to create to broaden our audience. So we're not just talking to the same people that we see at the rare disease conferences and say, hey, do you know how many rare diseases they are? And they say, yes, I'm here. That's where we play a really important role, I think, in expanding our audience.
For sure. And I think raising awareness by engaging everyone to really kind of drive that action. And I think it definitely helps if you do have some strong home run hitters on your team as well. So tell me what's next for you and what's next for Uplifting Athletes.
Yeah, so we're really excited about the future of our organization. So within our rare disease research program, we have the Young Investigator Draft, which we talked about, which was launched back in 2018. That program is going to continue to grow and hopefully fund more and more researchers year over year. It has an incredible ripple effect that those researchers that we're funding will have the opportunity to build that funding. We've had 5 researchers from our Young Investigator Draft classes go on to receive NIH funding. So it has turned tens of thousands of dollars into hundreds of thousands of dollars committed to rare disease research. In 2023, we launched a program called the Researcher Connection Program, providing opportunities for researchers to attend patient-family conferences. Really important for us to make sure that we're building the connection and building a bridge between researchers and the patient advocacy organizations and the people that live with these diseases so that these researchers understand and can prioritize those needs properly. Within that research within research, we're trying to make sure that we continue to invest and provide opportunities that provide ultimately economic opportunity for these researchers to pursue their careers. So we are working to build, hopefully in the coming year or so, a researcher workshop that provides all the tools and resources for these researchers to take these seed funding grants and to go get an NIH grant, to take their basic bench research and make it into translational research or develop a clinical trial. And so these are really important elements that we want to work to develop within our rare disease research arm. Within Uplifting Experiences, we're going to continue to grow and continue to partner with teams across professional and college sports to host families, both in these large cities and rural communities that are impacted by rare diseases. We are hoping to find more partners and more sponsors that want to help build our infrastructure so that we can continue to serve all the amazing people in the rare disease community. We've served over 500, I think over 400 people this year, nearly 400 last year, and we have 500 people on our waiting list. And so we're just trying to work and to build capacity, but at the same time ensure that we're taking every step that these families have to ensure that these families have an incredible experience when they partner with us. And so those are really big big things that we're focused on, and again, just building out our opportunities for more events and engagement for people impacted by rare diseases.
And the future definitely looks bright for Uplifting Athletes. I'm really excited to continue to follow and see the work that you're doing in the research space with the Researcher Connection Program, the Young Investigator Draft, and all of the other goals that your team has their eyes set on. So at Osmosis, we are a teaching company and we love to fill in knowledge gaps. Is there a topic that you think Osmosis should make a video on to fill a gap that is of particular concern or of interest to you?
So I first of all, I love your videos. You guys do an awesome job with the illustrated videos. I think for me in this knowledge gap area, there's one that just trying to help people understand the rare disease cause is really not just one that affects and it does affect. Sorry, I'm gonna start over. The rare disease cause is one that affects over 30 million people in the United States. And this is not just something that impacts those living with the disease, but it is a bigger, broader public health issue that if we could invest and focus more on rare disease research, the research that comes from that and the understanding that comes from that is oftentimes ones that'll help more common illnesses and help us move to support everybody in our healthcare system. And so for me, that is one of the incredible things that I've learned about investing in rare disease research and the long-term benefits that it has for the broader population beyond those just impacted by a rare disease.
That's a great call out there. And we will definitely take that back to our content team to see if there's anything we can do there. As you know, we do support many students and early career health professionals that listen to this great podcast. What advice do you have for them about meeting the challenges of this moment, helping rare disease patients throughout their career? What advice would you give them?
The advice that I would give them is kind of what I've learned is that the difficult path is oftentimes the most gratifying. Taking on big challenges and trying to work through them and not giving up and trying to understand what you're passionate about and what opportunities you have to make the world a better place. And I think those that are working in the medical field, the students that are coming through, the next generation of researchers, the healthcare professionals, they are the ones that we are going to be reliant on. And I think we have an unbelievable opportunity to continue to educate all of them on not only kind of the blind spots that we've had as a healthcare system for decades, but also to be able to share with them the human stories of how these affect individuals and people. And so I would encourage them and challenge them to find ways that they can make the world a better place by using the special skills that they possess to do so.
Yes, and I definitely agree. There is an incredible opportunity for future medical professionals in the rare disease space. I guess my final question, a really important one for you, is which NFL team do you currently cheer for?
So I was born and raised just outside Philadelphia. My dad was a Philadelphia Eagles season ticket holder, and so they are my team. I root for them each year, and hoping for the best. Hopefully, another
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Go Birds!
Yeah, go Birds. We'll see here in a few weeks. Football will be back before we know it. To wrap things up here, Rob, it is very clear that you have a personal and professional commitment and connection to the rare disease community as a rare brain cancer survivor. We thank you so much for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Lindsey Smith. Thanks for checking out our show. Remember to do your part to raise the line and strengthen the healthcare system. We're all in this together.
If you like this podcast, please share it on your social channels. You can also subscribe to the series and check out all of our episodes at osmosis.org/raisethelinepodcast.